Hello everybody and welcome to a brand new Elder Scrolls Online PTS patch notes video with me, Sherman. Today guys, we are taking a look at the update Elsweyr, or patch 5.0 on PTS, and update 22, which is the free update everyone gets. Regardless if you bought the expansion or not, you will get update 22 stuff, which is like the class balance changes, some of the gear set changes, things like that. You just don't get anything to do with Elsweyr. Now, before I get into this, I do want to let you guys know we do have permission to do a videos on content, as long as it doesn't pertain to the main story. As long as it doesn't pertain to the main story, we can do all the coverage we want on anything with Elsweyr. I'm stoked. I can't wait to get in and start showing off the Necromancer, showing off the new gear sets, stuff like that. A lot of it sounds really cool. I already did read through the patch notes to kind of get a feel for what we're looking at here. And some of them have me going, huh? And then some have me going, okay. So let's go ahead and get into this. So first off, welcome to Elder Scrolls Online version 5.0 and our next chapter, Elsweyr, in the wild and untamed land of the Khajiit. Explore fertile grasslands, winding canyons, and wild borderlands where the Khajiit grow their famous moon sugar crops. Elsweyr's capital is the beautiful city of Sherman, currently occupied by the Imperial mercenaries, where the local Khajiits are equal part resident and captives. Beyond the city, meeting wandering nomads, navigate the scorching desert of the Scar, and explore timeless Khajiit ruins that are not as abandoned as they might seem. During your explorations, you will need to beware of the fearsome dragons that soar in the skies of Elsweyr. So, in addition to this exciting zone, we've added the all-new Necromancer class for those who are looking to make undead serve your will. The new class brings 3 unique and formidable skill lines for you to master. Overwhelm your foes with destructive elemental spells, encase yourself in protective bone and flesh, or bolster you and your allies with living death magic. All of it sounds amazing, of course. And then, for a challenging group experience, you can now gather the strongest allies to take on our newest 12-player trial, Sunspire, that pits you against a group of menacing dragons within an ancient temple of Alkosh. Similar to the previous trials, Sunspire includes a normal and veteran version. However, this is the first time you'll find each dragon boss has its own hard mode. Additionally, if you are able to complete all achievements associated with the trial, you'll be handsomely rewarded with an exclusive Sunspire Champion Sinche Lion mount. Alright, so I'm not going to read any further. I just want to kind of go over this whole trial thing. 1, finally, we get a hard mode for all bosses. They should just make hard mode just a mode all itself. Like we have normal and veteran. We need a hard mode. Everything, not just the bosses. This is awesome. So hands down, cool. I'm glad they did this for this trial. Now maybe they'll do it with the other ones. I don't know. The fact that we're going to get rewarded for completing all the achievements associated with it. You get a mount now. Even better. We never got rewarded with a mount before. This is awesome. So super excited about that. Elsweyr also brings 14 new item sets, including perfected versions only found in the veteran Sunspire trial, a number of new collectibles, dies, titles, a new crafting ingredient, and a unique expandable house that you will unlock simply by completing a portion of the main story. Excuse me? An expandable house? Alright, first they sold me on Elsweyr. We all were sold on Elsweyr. This is like new exciting land to see and all that. But an expandable house. Okay. I'm glad I already bought this, because I'm going to get that house. Update 22, which is a free update as part of the base game, includes several exciting additions and features as well. We're introducing the Guild Finder system, which sounds awesome, by the way, which is a new tool to connect players to like-minded guilds. PvP players will surely have fun with the addition of weapon artifacts, which after picked up will swap out your ability bar, so you'll be living embodiment of this ancient weapon. Sounds really cool. I don't know, honestly, like how much it's going to expand the PvP, but I do like the idea. Alright. There's also several campaign adjustments, including alliance-locked campaigns, a new Imperial City campaign, the removal of guest campaigns, and some changes to the Emperor leaderboards. We've also reworked 6 existing item sets in the theme of necromancy and implemented a new tool for tracking logged combat events with your group. So not only did they change or give us this artifact weapon for PvP, they also changed the campaign settings to have locked campaigns. That means once you pick a campaign, you are locked in it, is what I'm to understand. A new campaign, Imperial City, is its own campaign, separate from the other ones. I'll get more into this when we get into that detail down below, but a lot of that sounds really cool. Alright, we're not even going to read this. This is just a reminder about the PTS, the thing I mentioned, the NDA. So beyond the first quest, there's an NDA. You are free to discuss or stream anything else elsewhere, including the Necromancer, the new trial, or other side quests, or anything in the base game. So we can talk about the public dungeons, we can talk about the dells, we can talk about the land, we just can't talk about the story. The size of this update is 7.4 gigabytes. I've already got it, thank God. Alright, moving on down through all this. Moving on to the chapter, Elsweyr, new zone. To begin with your voyage on the PTS, you can choose from the following. Create a base character or create a CP, max CP character. This is what a lot of us are going to do. And then, of course, bring over your existing characters. So anyone who's playing on PTS this first week is going to be US. And I think next week they're going to swap it to European, and then swap it back to US, and then swap it back to European, and then swap it back to US in the last week. So this way, both sides get kind of equal testing. The PTS cycle usually runs about 5 weeks. So you got to think, this is the 15th. So we're going to look here on the calendar. 1, 2, 3. This is 3, 4, 5. So think of this. Elsweyr will be coming out on the 20th for PC and Mac. It will come out on consoles and everything else on the 4th of May. Sorry, June. So right now it's on PTS. It takes 5 weeks, so the 20th it'll go live. So just letting you guys know that now. And it's usually about 5 weeks of testing. Some people say, oh, they go 6 weeks. And I've never seen them go 6 weeks except for one time that I've been on PTS. All the other times it's been exactly 5 weeks. So, alright. So bring your existing characters. We know that. Seek out the courier, blah, blah, blah. 6 delves, each with its own sky shard and associated content. 6 challenging world bosses, ranging from the Akavari Swordmaster to the terrible Thanar the Grave Prowler. It's awesome. 2 public dungeons, Rimmon Necropolis and the Plague City of Orcrest. That both sound really cool. New item set crafting stations, over 30 hours of quest content, exploration achievements, hunting for over 50 new achievements, treasure finding, and monster battles. And of course, hunting down the most terrible predators you'll ever see, Tamriel dragons. So this dragon thing, I do want to talk about this. They're supposed to be like from what I understand, they're like abyssal geysers or the dark anchors. This is a dragon will come out of the sky and you can fight it, but it's going to be locked into specific locations. Excuse me, hairball. All right, moving on. Necromancer. Nothing. Just necromancers are able to summon relentless undead to attack their enemies, use blood and bone to protect themselves, and even manipulate the balance of life and death to help their allies. This new class uses the power of death to deal with any situation. Necromancers feature a unique set of abilities that use corpses as an alternate resource, which with an emphasis on position-based gameplay and a deep mastery curve. So it sounds like it's supposed to be like an advanced class. Practicing necromancy in Tamriel is a criminal act. In most cases, mages caught casting necromantic spells can feign ignorance or incite the spell or originates from the different schools of magic. Some spells, however, are too horrific to overlook. Any necromancer ability marked as a criminal act is a major crime and will be offended, or will offend the locals and alert the guards. So, if you guys don't know, this is the first time they've implemented this in any class. This class actually has the ability, when you cast an ability, to be considered a criminal act, and will have the guards called on you. So you have to be really careful with some of the spells. They're listed as being criminal spells. So, I mean, I'm excited regardless. Sunspire trial. The Temple of the First Cat was at one time a gleaming golden site perched on the lip of the slumbering volcanic crater that drew in the pilgrims from all over Elsweyr. Legend says that the inner shrine was erected at the spot where Dor Zira stood at the mountaintop and heard the great roar of Alkosh, the cat king of time, call to him. So this is, I would go over this, so I'm not going to go over too much of this. I'm going to read this. Sunspire is a 12-player trial located in the southern portion of Elsweyr. The trial includes a normal and challenging veteran mode. Additionally, for the first time, the hard mode on all bosses. Their unique item sets, both normal and perfected sets. And then unique awards, new skin, new mount, several titles, and unique housing items. All awesome. So, new item sets. There's 14 new sets. First, there is the Overland sets. These are the sets that drop in the map of Elsweyr. These drop from world bosses, delves, public dungeons, drop certain parts of them. So, like, if you want the boots and the belts, so you go to the delve. You want the jewelry, I'm pretty sure you get from the dragon event things. And, kind of like I said, like Abysmal Geysers and that, you get the jewelry. Then if you want the weapons and stuff, you have to do world bosses or public dungeons. And then world bosses, I think, drop chest and legs. And then the public dungeons drop the shoulder and helms. So, I think, I'm not 100% on that, but I'm pretty sure that's how it is. Or how I remember it from patch notes a while back. Alright, so let's look at the first drop set. First, finally, we got a Magicka version of Hulking Draugr. This is... what? And it's a drop set in the zone. That means no going to a dungeon to get Hulking Draugr, Magicka version. You just go in the zone and play and you get it. This is really cool. This is actually a pretty powerful set, because you don't have to have a pet available to get all this max Magicka. So, like, this in combination, and I know a lot of people will argue with me on this, but, like, this in combination with, like, Julianus, this is going to be great for starting players who want a lot of Magicka, but also want to have a good amount of crit capability and damage output. Like, that's going to be a great combination. There's other sets, too, that can work in combination with this to make it really good for you as a player wanting to make a really Magicka-heavy character. So, I really like this set. I think that's a really good idea. Next up, we have the Vesture of Durlock Bray. It's a medium armor set. Now, this one, and I want to say this too before I go into any more of these sets. I'm looking at these sets from all perspectives. I'm not looking at it from one demographic, like in-game, solo play. I'm looking at it from all demographics. So solo play, PvP, you name it. So I'm an all-around player. So I like to look at things with a open mind, and with the openness of where it'll fit, not only in one aspect of the game, but in all aspects. And I've always been that way. I've always looked at things as, how can I utilize this in any build? So when I see sets, that's the first thing I do. I look at the sets and I go, wow, what can I do with this? And a lot of times, my brain just goes into overload, or overactive mode if you want, and I just come up with, like, one set could give me 100 different builds. Just one set, because I'll be like, oh man, this will work really good in this combination. But let's jump into this one. Vesture of Durlock Bray, 2-piece magic recovery, 3-piece stamina recovery. I'm seeing it. I see a trend here already. Very Khajiit and Dark Elfish, kind of, with the, like, multiple role in the race, like the hybrid race, the ability to play both Magicka stamina, but not in the sense that a lot of people think. Not picking, like, just purely, you know, picking both, but picking purely like a Magicka play or a stamina play. it kind of works that way. But in this case, this is a very hybridized set, so it does give you that ability to utilize both those things, and I think that's really nice, especially the 2 and 3 piece. The 4 piece now reduces the radius you can be detected by sneaking by 2 meters, reducing the cost of sneak by 10%. Really falls into the Dark Brotherhood, Thieves Guild kind of story aspect. So like if you're playing through that content, doing the Thieves Guild stuff, if you're really into doing Thieves Guild and Dark Brotherhood stuff, like this is going to be a really good set for that, because you're going to get that reduced cost to sneak by 10% and reduced sneaking detection. Now when it comes to PvP, this is also going to be that one of those sets that people are going to use that for, so they can reduce the cost of their sneak, their detection and all that, and they can really maneuver the content really well. But it's the 5 piece that really gets you while crouching. So crouching is when you go into sneak. Soon as you start crouching, you restore 670 magicka and stamina and heal 670 health every second. So from the time you activate it, you activate crouch, you will go and start getting this magicka, stamina and health. That's the way I understand it, at least. We'll have to find out, but it sounds really, really powerful. Again, for those people who want to play the Dark Brotherhood, who want to play the Thieves Guild stuff, who want to roleplay their character in the world how they want, and play that thievy assassin type character, and really get into it. This is a great set for that. Call of the Undertaker, heavy set. So, the really unique set here. First off, 2 piece, healing taken. 3 piece, max health. 4 piece, healing done. And in the 5 piece, max health again. Now, the interesting thing is that this thing has 2 5-piece bonuses. You don't see that a lot in drop zone sets. A lot of times you'll see this in a drop dungeon set, maybe a trial set, most likely a trial set. But you don't see it a lot in crafted or drop sets. There isn't a lot of sets that have a 5-piece bonus or 2 5-piece bonuses. But this one, when you deal damage with a light attack, you apply minor lifesteal to your enemy for 8 seconds, healing you and your allies for 600 health every 1 second when damaging them. This effect can occur once every 8 seconds. So you got to think, this lasts for 8 seconds. As soon as it comes off, any light attack you do applies minor lifesteal. So you can basically keep minor lifesteal not only as a tank, but as a heavy armor, like group support person for your team. In PvP, even in PvE, if you're doing like normal dungeon runs or you're doing normal trials, even if you're trying to get into progressive in-game and you're wanting a set to help kind of not carry your group, but to help you alleviate having certain abilities, like this is a set that you could use in correlation with other things. So it's a really interesting look at how they came up with this, because I mean, I'm sitting here going, minor lifesteal on a heavy armor set, that doesn't make sense. But at the same time, it makes a lot of sense, because a lot of people use you know, they'll use the blood fountain from Undaunted line to get the minor lifesteal on enemies. This way they don't have to carry that ability and waste the resource. They can just apply it for free just by doing a light attack. That's really a nice, like, what would you rather do? Save resources or do this? Like, I would much rather wear this in some circumstances and use the fountain in other. So, like, it's a nice trade-off. I really like this combination so far of sets. All right, let's get into the crafted set. Sensei Rat Grit. This is a crafted set. So it does healing done, max health, healing taken. So very similar to the one above, but instead only has 1 5-piece bonus, and that 1 5-piece bonus is after being damaged by damage over time ability, increase your healing received by 6% and your physical and spell resistance by 2,585. So really, like, tanky set, craftable tanky thing for PvP, but also a great starter tank set for PvE, because a lot of the base game dungeons and even the DLC dungeons have a lot of area of effect or damage over time effects that you take, and this is a great way for a new player who's a tank, or a player wanting to be kind of tanky, to have some way of getting some survivability to help carry them through the content. So this is a nice set. I like this for that purpose. And I will say this, do I see it being used by a lot of in-game meta players? No. They're not even going to look at it. They're going to look at this and say this is a joke. I'm looking at it saying this is actually something you can use to help you get started into the end game. It's a really good starting set to help you carry you into end game. So I like it. Vastari's tutelage. So back into that whole thing like I was talking about earlier, where the Khajiits have the tri-stat in their racial passives. They get the max health, stamina, magicka, and they get the health or stamina magicka recovery thing. This set fits really into that kind of spectrum because the 2-piece, 3-piece, and 4-piece is tri-statted. So you get max stam, max health, and max magicka. Then you get the 5-piece, you get 2 or 3 5-piece bonuses. And this is a crafted set. So the first one is magic recovery. The next one is stam recovery. So you get 2 things of recovery, plus you get those tri-stats. Really good combination there for somebody who's looking to maybe make it like a hybrid type character. Not really a true hybrid, but somebody who follows in one path, but still utilizes the other. Like one person who follows in magicka, but utilizes some stamina. Or somebody who utilizes some stamina, or utilizes stamina, but follows in with magicka as well. Like a kind of hybrid type setup, but it's the 5-piece bonus which blows my mind. When you resurrect an ally, you and your ally gain 258 weapon and spell damage for 10% cost reduction to all abilities for 10 seconds. So, really interesting support adaptation there for the player who likes to play support. I like playing support characters, so this really falls really well into what I like to do. So, like, on my druid build, this really fits that kind of playstyle because the druid originally was all stamina based. Now I can do a mix of stamina magicka and maybe even do sword and shield and resto staff, or do dual wield resto staff, or dual wield even lightning staff or something, and run this. So if somebody goes down, I've got my heals and everything that I've got going on. Got, you know, that kind of stuff. I can even run this with Powerful Assault, which would be a really good combination, because you don't want to be like a lot of crit and things like that, but I could run Powerful Assault in this and have this crafted in medium or even light and get that extra benefit from it. So I really like this. I think this is going to be really good. I think this is going to be really good for hybrid specs, like hybrid support in PvP. PvE, unless you play a hybrid support character, yeah, like in-game, not going to happen for the hardcore in-gamers. Regular in-gamers, yeah, it'll be great. Cold Harbor's favorite. So this is an interesting craftable set. Again, we get another one of those 2-piece bonus in one slot. So 2-piece, max magicka, 3-piece, max stamina. Again, going with that hybridized type play. And then weapon and spell damage in the 4-piece. Really, really awesome. And then the 5-piece. When you heal yourself or an ally, summon Cadwell's Noble Mount. Honor. Who, after 2 seconds, casts healing spell on you and your allies. They heal them for 12,190 over 4 seconds. When you damage an enemy, you summon Cadwell's Noble Mount. Honor. While who after 2 seconds explodes, damaging enemies for 12,190 magic damage over 4 seconds. Honor can only be summoned every 10 seconds. So the interesting thing with this set, and I really do have to say this is interesting, I really like this direction with this set, with all 3 of these sets, because they have their versatility to them for being craftable sets. So like anyone can use the Sensei's Rat set with any combination, you know, light, medium, heavy. Even though it looks very tankish, it would be really good as any of those. The Vastari's, again, can be used in any light, medium, or heavy. And then Cold Harbor's favorite. This one really kind of catches you, because you're like, okay, I get weapon and spell damage, and I get this max stam, max magicka. But this 5-piece, is, again, support. Like, really group support orientated, because you got the heal. Whenever you heal yourself or an ally, you can heal your group. And it's after 2 seconds it heals, and it heals over 4 seconds, and there's a 10-second cooldown. So, like, every 10 seconds, if you do damage or you heal, you're going to get that effect. And I think that's a nice, again, hybridized type of set that allows people to kind of say, okay, this time I want to go with this, so I'm going to use like a two-handed and a destruction staff, but I'm going to utilize the two-handed for stamina-based combat, so I can be up close and personal. I'm going to use the magicka side for doing my heals and maybe damage, so I can get this mount to summon. So I really like this. I really like that. I think that's a really cool combination there. So the trial sets. Now, I'm not going to look at these base ones. These are the normal sets. I'm not going to read them. I'm going to go down here to the perfected sets, and this is where things get really interesting. Actually, let's do the normal ones, and then we'll just go into perfected and take the bonus stat that it gives. So starting with the first one, it's the light magicka DPS set, the False God's Devotion. So the 2-piece spell crit, 3-piece minor slayer at all times, increasing your damage done to dungeon and trial arena monsters by 5%. So this so far is looking really good to me. The 4-piece spell crit again, then 2 5-piece bonuses. A lot of dual 5-piece bonuses in these sets, or dual bonuses. Now let's look at this last 5-piece. Reduces the cost of your magicka abilities by 8%. When you kill an enemy, you restore X amount of magicka and gain minor expedition or major expedition for 8 seconds. Now, there is a medium armor set, and I will screw it up if I try to figure out remember which one it is, but there is a medium armor trial set that does the same, but there's no perfected version of it. So there is a perfected version of this. So is this going to become the new meta? I've already been asked. No. And yes. No, in the sense that in-game people probably won't do it, utilize it, but yes, for those who are looking for something to give them a little bit more sustainability and easier access to sustainability, like this is a really good set for that. But you're not going to use it with some of the other sets that most people run. Like you might use this in combination with, say, that new hulking Draugr type set. Like that would be a really good combination for even a magicka DPS pet person, or even say like a Dragon Knight. Like that would be a really good combination for them. Now another good combination for this would be like this and Julianus. That would be another really good combination of sets to use to give you that uniqueness to your character. So I really like this set. But let's get going so we can get into the actual perfected one of that in a minute. So here's the next one, Tooth of Locazitz. Can't even pronounce it. Weapon damage. Gain minor slayer at all times, increasing your damage done to trial and, yep, we get it, 5%. And then more weapon damage. So that's interesting. We don't have, it's not crit. It's weapon damage with the minor slayer. That's really interesting. And then when you activate a synergy, gain major slayer for 15 seconds, increasing your damage done. So this is like, you could get a permanent uptime of major slayer in a trial, in a dungeon, if you're getting fed synergy. So you would have to be in a really organized group to make sure that you're getting the right amount of synergies. But I don't see this taking the place of like some of the other sets, but it is really powerful. Like I could see this being used with like Hunting's Rage. Like that would be a good combination, or this and Tooth Row, the one that gives you a lot of crit. Like I could see, like, or gives you the crit and then it gives you the extra crit. I could see this being used with the one that does give you a lot of weapon crit, like that combination, or even in a combination of, say, the one that gives you the minor berserk at all times when you have it equipped, the monster set. That set, this, and like Hunting's in succession with each other, because that'll give you a decent amount of crit, about 60-something% crit if you're in medium armor, dual wield, maybe a precise offhand, and you're still going to get about 35 to 40k DPS with that setup, guys. Yeah, it's not like you're going to get some horrible DPS. You're going to range, like, unless you're really bad at a rotation, you're still looking at a decent amount of DPS that's easily going to help you get through trials, dungeons, things like that. Like, you don't have to have the meta, if you will, to play the game. You just, like, if you're going to do progressive in-game stuff, like if you're going to play like hardcore in-game, then go the meta. But if you're not interested in that and you just want to play the game, have fun, like, this is a great set for that. Alright, moving on. The light healer set. Can't even pronounce half of these because of the dragon names. They're so freaking hard. Just kidding. So 2-piece magic recovery, 3-piece minor Aegis at all times, so this reduces damage taken. And minor Aegis and major Aegis, just so it's clarified, these are their own damage reduction things. So if you have minor Aegis, it does not apply to your damage reduction. It is 5% extra to your damage reduction. So it doesn't get multiplied in or whatever. It's literally 5% damage reduction. So this is really good so far. Next one. And if you guys haven't noticed, this is kind of a weird one because it's weapon or it's magic recovery and then the minor Aegis, then the max magicka. So it's really different, but at the same time very similar to a lot of other healer sets. But the 5-piece bonus, when an ally activates one of your synergies, you and the ally who activated the synergy get 12% cost reduction for non-ultimates for 3 seconds. This effect can occur once every 6 seconds. So unless you're playing a healer that is utilizing multiple synergies, not just one, not just spears, not just orbs, but like other synergies that you have access to. So if you have like 3 or 4 synergies that you're putting out, like, this might be a good set for that, for like speed runs through dungeons and trials and stuff like that, like to help your group speed stuff. Like, I can see where that would play into that effect, or to help you, even if your group struggles a little bit with resource management, like this would be a really good set to help your group with that resource management. The heavy tank set. This one, max health, gain minor Aegis, again that damage reduction, and then max stamina. So this is kind of interesting to have a max health, max stamina on a tank set. And then when you taunt an enemy, you give yourself and 11 group members minor courage for 15 seconds, increasing weapon and spell damage by 129. This effect can occur once every 8 seconds. So this is minor courage. This isn't like powerful assault where it gives just weapon and spell damage for activating a combat skill. This would, you could actually run this with powerful assault and major courage. So you could have powerful assault, minor courage, major courage. So you could give your group a ton of weapon and spell damage. Wow. Like, that's intense. I really like this set. I'm tempted to go get it for myself. Wow. Alright, moving on. Trial, Perfected, False God's Devotion. So this is the Perfected Light Armor Magic DPS. As you can see, the 5-piece extra bonus is going to be Max Magicka. That's... wow. That's intense. Next one. Oh, Critical. So you get 2 weapon damage and critical. Jeez, that's... yeah, that's... whoa. That's really good. I'm sorry. I know a lot of people are going to look down at this set, especially the in-game meta crowd. Like, they're going to look down at this. I'm not. I see this set for its potential and what it could be used for, like the multiple uses it could be used for. But the fact that they put the crit on there for the Perfected, that's really awesome. All right, the healer set. Oh, 2 things. So the other 5-piece bonus is another Max Magicka. Wow, that's nice. All right, so the tank set. Oh, more max health. Another great benefit. So not only do you get the stamina for blocking to help you block more or to help you maintain more max stam, but now you get that whenever you taunt an enemy, you get minor courage on you and your group, plus you get that extra max health. That's nice. Alright, done with the sets. Moving on. New collectibles, costumes, and hats. So we get the Patriot Skeeve Master costume, obtained by completing the Patriot Plague Clothes Patcher achievement. So this is probably one of those things where you got to get like 7 items or something like that and combine them in a box to get that costume. That's really cool. We got the Mad God's Turban hat, obtained by completing the quest Lunacy of the Two Moons. Siege Master clothes. Helm hat, obtained by completing consuming a Ruin Box Siege Master's helm. So this is a Cyrodiil thing. Cool. New furnishings, obtained by completing the Mural Mender achievement. Alright. New trophies. The final boss of the Sunspire, you get a new trophy and a new bust. Awesome. New mementos. The Earn Smash memento, obtained from completing the quest Relatively Speaking. The Winnowing Plague Decoction, whatever memento, obtained by completing the Unhealthy Preoccupation. Sounds really interesting. Pets and Mounts. Grizzly Mummy Tabby... What? Obtained by completing the Alfiq Mummy Master achievement. This sounds interesting. We get a pet. A pet, a mount, and a house. All in one, like one thing. The Sunspire Champion Sinche Lion Mount, obtained by completing the Sunspire Dragon Break achievement. Good luck. I'm sorry, this sounds really cool. I'm glad that they're doing that for the in-game crowd, because these guys really do deserve being rewarded for the hard work they do put in to complete the most difficult content. So I do think that's really good. Next up, skins. Sunspire Ice Fire skin. So this is a new skin that's being added. So when you complete the Sunspire Conquer achievement, this is I think the Veteran achievement. So that's kind of cool. Style pages, Ancient Moon Crescent and Pristine Moon Crescent, both obtained by completing the Moonlight Blade quest. That sounds interesting. So we're going to get Moon Crescent and Pristine Moon Crescent style pages, like crafting style pages. Okay. New dies and titles, so we get the Savior of Elsweyr, we get the Anquiniqua, whatever, Sunrise die, we get the Blood Gold die, obtained by completing the Queen's Maker achievement, and the Spectral Blue by completing the Grand Necromancer Slayer achievement. Oh, that sounds cool. New titles. I'm not even going to go look at the titles. I'm just skipping because there is a ton of stuff still to go, guys. New housing options and additions. So we heard about the new house. The temple home will continue to grow with you as you acquire additional tablets according to the life of the lunar champion. By completing dungeons and quests in the remaining 2 major updates this year during the Season of the Dragon. The home has furnishing limits equivalent to a manor with a limit of 350 standard furnishings, doubled to 700 of ESO Plus. Really cool. We also added 140 new Elsweyr furnishing recipes to acquire. That's really cool. New motives. So these, the motive chapters, as well as the associated Shimmering Sand, are obtained by completing Delves and World Boss dailies and Elsweyr. The Something motive chapters, as well as associated style items, Dragon Thread, are obtained from completing the Dragon Hunt dailies. So Dragon Hunts are those things where you go and hunt the dragons. Those are going to be those the repeatable, not just dailies, but like the repeatable events, like the Dark Anchors and the Abyssal Geysers. Group Finder or Guild Finder update. So this is the new thing with the Guild Finder. Oh, and a new crafting ingredient, Dragon's Blood and Dragon Bile, are new alchemy for creating minor heroism traits in potions. That's cool. That's really cool. I like this, because this might become like the new tank potion. Who knows? Like for the tanks who don't want to use like Heroic Slash to get minor heroism, this might be a good way for them to get minor heroism, and like, who knows? We'll have to see. Base game updates, Guild Finder. So a new section is present in the guild menu for recruitment. Here, a guild leader can fill out information about the guild, as well as include custom headlines and a guild description. Once they've provided enough information, they can then list their guild in the Guild Finder. Other players within the guild will be able to see their guild's listing. while it is active as well. So this is going to help new players in the game find guilds with like-minded people. So if you're looking to join a guild that's, say, like, mostly RP or mostly just does like just does normal content, doesn't worry about the in-game, isn't worried about the hardcore, you'll be able to find those kind of guilds. And even those who are looking to join like progressive in-game guilds, this is going to be a great tool. This is something that is much needed. New guild features. So in addition, pending invitations to the guild are now at the bottom of the guild roster. Added the ability to blacklist accounts from your guild. Oh, this is nice. This is really nice. PvP weapon artifacts. That's the new PvP thing. Here is the new campaign adjustment. So, in keeping with the Season of the Dragons, we will be introducing 6 new campaigns with some new rules added. So, there's the Bulkadin, whatever. This is the 30-day no CP alliance. This is locked. This is the 30-day enabled alliance, locked. Then they have the 7-day no CP, or CP enabled. So this one is not locked. And then this one is the 10 to 49. This is the no CP Imperial City, and then the CP Imperial City. So these aren't locked. It's only the main alliance ones, like the main ones when you're fighting over territory in the main, oh my god, I can't even think of the Oblivion section of the game, you know, the Imperial section where the Imperial City is. Like, this is really cool. I like this change. So alliance campaigns are a new style of campaign rules that will be applied to 30-day duration. So there are 2 methods of locking in your alliance for a campaign. In both cases, alliance selection is determined by the alliance of the character you are currently logged in with. Method 1, assign a home campaign in your alliance war menu. Enter Cyrodiil on a campaign you're not previously joined. Okay. Once you've locked in your alliance, only characters of the same alliance on your account will be allowed to enter Cyrodiil in that campaign. So this is actually really, really important, because this is something that has been much needed, because people would turn the tide of a campaign by logging in on their characters of a different faction to help that faction win a campaign. And this happened all the time. Now there is none of that. This is really, I like this. There is no option to change your locked alliance until the campaign duration has elapsed. Multiple in-game notifications have been added to warn you when you're about to join an alliance locked campaign. Campaigns not flagged with an alliance locked rule set remains unchanged. Any characters above level 10 from any alliance can play in those campaigns at any time. Imperial City is now its own campaign. The doors to Cyrodiil have been shut down. To get into Imperial City, you need to simply use the campaign selection menu. You will end up in the sewers just as you had entered from Cyrodiil. Note that the Imperial City has its own population cap, including the sewer and districts, which is now removed from Cyrodiil's population caps. So it's got its own population cap, separate from Cyrodiil. So this is really cool. This is going to make Cyrodiil a lot bigger campaign area for players, and then the Imperial City is going to have its own campaign. So that's really nice. Remove the guest campaign as a status, so you no longer need to manage your guest campaign and are now free to play in any campaign at will. Home campaign status is still needed for earning leaderboard rewards at the end of the campaigns and participating in Emperorship leaderboards. That's cool. So moving on, reworked item sets. So these are the item sets that they reworked for Necromancy. So Withered Hand used to have a 28-meter radius, would heal you for X amount of health and give you magicka. This effect would happen every 3 seconds. Now it's when an enemy you recently damaged dies, you heal for X amount of magicka and health, and you get it's every 3 seconds. So this is a much better change from the old Withered Hand. I like this change. Vestments of the Warlock. Another change, another light set. So this is a light set, this is a light set. This one used to be when you fall below 33% magicka, restore X amount of magicka. This effect can occur every 1 minute. Now it's when you drop below 25% magicka, restore 11,350 magicka, and can happen every 45 seconds. Again, I like this change. I do. I think that's a really good, not optimization, but a good balance, if you will. Essence Thief. So this one, when you deal damage with the light attack, you have a 15% chance to draw essence from an enemy. Collecting the essence heals for 4,300 health, restores 4,300 stamina, and increases your damage by 12% for 10 seconds. Essence lasts 10 seconds. Next, when you deal damage with the light attack, you draw essence from the enemy, collecting 3,900 health instead of 4,300, and 3,900 stamina, and increase your damage by 10% for 10 seconds. Essence lasts 5 seconds, and spawns closer to your target. So that's, I like that. That's kind of nice. I will admit this is kind of a nerf, but at the same time I like the change because it still keeps it in lieu of itself, but also changes it to have a different perspective, if you will. But with a new like the same use, but with a new functionality. Like same functionality, same use, like everything is the same. It's just different, just minorly different. I like that. Trappings of Invigoration. So, old 5-piece, when you fall below 30% stamina, you get 9,000. The effect can occur once every... Oh, okay, so it's the same as the Warlock, it's just the Invigoration. So this is the same as the Warlock. So, nice change again. Leeching Plate, this is one I'm really excited for. So, it used to have healing taken in the 4-piece and the 5-piece. When you deal damage, you have an 8% chance to summon a Leeching Cloud under your assailant that deals 1,204 damage in a 4-meter radius for 1 second for 5 seconds, and heals you for 100% damage caused. Now, major overhaul in a sense. So the 4-piece is now max health. Interesting change, just the max health. But the 5-piece, when you take damage, you have a 20% chance to summon a cloud of leeching poison under the assailant. This cloud deals 1,200 damage in a 5-meter radius every second for 5 seconds, and heals for 100% of the damage caused. So, minor damage change, 1 meter increase, and then the 4-piece. So it's still, again, just like that other one. Like, they're keeping that, like, everything's the same. There's just some minor nuance to it that makes it a little better. Affliction. Now, this is one that totally blew me away. So, Affliction, if you guys didn't know, was a tri-stat heavy armor set that dropped in Cyrodiil, and it would give you max health, magicka, and stamina. It was a tri-stat set, but when you dealt damage, you had a 50% chance to deal X amount of disease damage. This effect occurred every 4 seconds. Now, you get stamina recovery, but when you deal damage, you have a 50% chance to deal an additional 1,830 disease damage and afflict the target with minor defile for 4 seconds, reducing their healing taken by 15%. This effect can occur once every 4 seconds. That is awesome change. I love that change, and I really love the Affliction set. I ran this on my Nightblade for a while, and then I changed out of it because I ran this on my Nightblade when I played PvP, and I ran him as like a tanky character, but also like a tanky DPS character, and this is what helped me carry that DPS a little bit further, and I really liked it. So this change is going to be really nice for me. Alright, new motives. Cold Snap and Meridian. So these are going to drop in the newest dungeons, the Frostvault and the Malatard. We didn't have the motives there. Now they're putting the motives in for that. That'll be cool. ESO logs added the ability for you to perform a deep dive into log combat events within your group to see things like damage, healing, resource uses, and much more. This is done by exporting group-based encounter logs to a local file, which gets uploaded to the ESO logs website. For more information about this feature, please see this post in the forums. There will be a link to this, so if you guys want to check out this the whole thing, patch notes, you can go read them yourself. But there will also be a link for that as well. I'm going to put it in there so you guys can go to the logs yourself. Next up, Sky Shard achievement and alternate characters. Fully completing a Sky Shard Hunter achievement on one character will now unlock the ability to purchase that achievement on other characters. The purchased achievement will award all associated skill points or any remaining skill points that your current characters has not yet acquired. So this is going to be nice. I don't know how much it's going to be in the Crown Store, but it's supposed to be under the upgrade section. This is nice, but this kind of falls in that gray area of pay to win. It really does. Like, if they said, okay, you guys are going to be able to get Sky Shard achievement on all your characters by doing this in-game activity, I would be fine with it. And I would really be fine with it. But this really falls in that gray area of pay to win in my mind. I know a lot of people are like, what do you mean? How is this pay to win? Because if you have somebody who's like done everything in the game, gotten all the sky shards, all they have to do is go buy it for the rest of their characters, and all their characters get all those extra skill points, and they don't have to farm those sky shards with those characters. So it pretty makes a lot of content like easier to do. So I just feel like that's paying for that aspect. Not so much pay to win as it is pay to achieve. But it's still, paying to achieve is getting really close to pay to win. So they are going to have templates. All item set bags found in the character templates that we know have the item set bonus attached to them, not just the top level bag for each item set. All equipment found in the item set bags will now be gold quality. The quality of bags themselves has also been changed to gold to match. So all the gear sets that we get now, we don't have to change them. We just get them and they're already set at gold. That's going to be really nice, because I really hated having to go set up a bunch of crafting stations, set up a bunch of stuff to upgrade all my gear, and then go get all the stones placed for the different Mundus stones. Do this complete setup ritual every time I get on PTS. Now I just go in and I'll have it set up like a lot faster. Thank you. Added a new item sets found in Elsweyr, in addition to the Hall of Lunar Champion Deeds, which contains a new house and 2 additional collectibles intended for the use in that house. Try them out. Okay. Fixed minor typos. Okay. So we're not going to look at this. I will say I looked through this. So there is some St. Felms and St. Ohms had some changes, so they were nerfed a little. Scout Collar Peak, the Matriarch, Aldous, again, minor, I want to say minor nerf, like really minor, but it's really interesting change. Horns of the Reach, I wouldn't even say nerf, just fixed some stuff. Imperial City, lots of interest. I gotta get into Imperial City this update. Halls of Fabrication, again, some minor changes. Merkmeyer had some minor changes to it. Orsinium, Somerset, Wrathstone, Depths of Malatar didn't get it. I wouldn't say a nerf, but it did get some minor tweaks. Now, the big stuff. Combat and abilities. So, first off, it says here, developer comment, as mentioned in the post a couple weeks ago, fixed main focus of this patch is bringing abilities in line with our standards for specific categories in terms of their cost, damage, ranges, etc. We actively wanted to avoid homogenizing of how abilities interact with mechanics, but more so wanted to ensure we had a healthy standard to follow and build abilities like Necromancer with the future, so players could identify patterns and better employ them in their own playstyles. The focus in this update is mainly on class abilities, but touched onwards to a few specific categories such as point blank, area of effect, damage over time, yada yada yada. So lots of things were touched. After accepting a resurrection by another player, you will be a ghost for 3 seconds. Interesting. Fixed an issue where the pets were only having their healing received from battle spirit reduced by 50%, or by 50 rather than 50%. Fixed an issue where the pet shield size were not being properly reduced by battle spirit. Removed the 200 millisecond post global cooldown from cast time abilities. This was done to improve the feeling of using these abilities in rapid succession with other abilities to allow for a more fluid transition and less downtime in between usage. We also made some adjustments to the cast times and power levels of specific abilities, which will be called out on a per basis in further notes. So, first one, Radiant Destruction, Soul Assault. Their global cooldown is still there, but it's 100 milliseconds down from 200 milliseconds. And this was to prevent animation errors. Player abilities that fear targets will no longer cause them to flee in terror. Instead, they will now cower in terror, unable to move while feared. Note, this does not affect abilities that monsters can cast. So, I like this. I think this is like the best change so far, because now it makes Nightblades really have an ability that's available to them that helps them CC and crowd control while tanking. and that's mass hysteria. Alright, improve the reliability of charge and teleport abilities when attempting to use them against high mobility targets. The snare that's briefly applied when casting one of these abilities on the target has increased to 60% from 30%. All immobilizes from player abilities, and the item sets will now apply immobilization immunity once applied to prevent multiple immobilizations from applying on the same target. Once an immobilize of these abilities ends, you gain immunity to immobilize for 3 seconds after, similar to the dodge roll mechanic. Nice change. Fixed an issue where the visual effects of dodge roll fatigue would not be removed if you use dodge roll multiple times in quick succession. Alright. Pets no longer attempt to aid their owners in sieging destructible keeps and bridge pieces, for they are powerless against the might of the superior craftsmanship. Awesome. Fixed an issue where status effects could be dodged. Weapon swapping while an arrow... Yeah, this is... I don't get this. This ability is reserved for magicians at magic trick shows. So they fixed this, I guess. Dying a destructible structure in Cyrodiil, or dying on a destructible, will no longer cause your corpse to magically float in the air if the structure will break while your character has already died. So just follow the ground. Updated some of the class abilities to no longer apply visible seams in their visual effects, such as magma armor or blessing of protection. Alright. Buffs and debuffs. Fixed an issue where health recovery reduction on major and minor were being considered an additional negative effect on purge that could only remove a limited amount of effects. So this is now fixed. I'm glad they fixed that, because I hated that in PvP, that stuff happening. Alright, first up, Dragon Knight changes. We're going to start at the top. Ardent Flame, Fiery Breath. Increase the damage of the initial hit of this ability by 200% to be on par with PB AoE standards. The base ability will now rank up in damage for the entire ability rather than just the dot. That's interesting. That's really interesting. So, Fiery Grip. This is the next ability. This is the one that either pulls you to an enemy or pulls them to you. They increase the ability, the damage of this ability and its forms by 20% to put it on par with our gap closer standards. So this is to put it on par with like charge and other things. They also improved the responsiveness of the pull speed from this ability to reduce situations where players were still CC'd after the pull was complete. Inferno. This ability and its morphs now operate like Flames of Oblivion morph, where they will scale with the highest offensive stats. Also increase the power of this ability, of these abilities, by 5%. So Flames of Oblivion, the morph no longer exclusively adds the dynamic scaling mechanism. Instead, the morph retains the gaining of major savagery and hits one additional enemy. Lava Whip. They reduce the cost of this ability morph by 5% to put it online with other melee spammables. So they finally reduced the cost, guys. Molten Whip. Rework this ability so it no longer grants passive bonus to weapon and spell damage while slotted. Instead, the passive grants access to Seething Fury, a 33% damage bonus to your next Molten Whip cast, and increase of weapon and spell damage every time you activate an Ardent Flame ability that isn't Molten Whip. This bonus can stack up to 3 times, last 5 seconds, and will refresh in duration every time it is applied to you. So that's actually quite interesting. Searing Strike. Adjusted this ability in its forms to follow our standardized damage over time rule set. Decrease the total duration to 8 seconds from 8.5 and increase the damage per tick by approximately 12.5 to make up for the loss of the tick, the first tick. This will result in roughly the same overall DPS, but with less burst damage. Interesting. Draconic Powers. Coagulating Blood. They increase the heal of this morph by approximately 19% to put it better in line with other burst heal abilities. So this was the non-used heal that all tanks didn't use. So that's kind of interesting. I'll look at it. I'll look at it. For mages, that'll be good. Dark Talons. Increase the damage of the initial hit of this ability and its morphs by 25% to put it on par with the other PBAOE abilities. Burning Talons. Adjusted the tick. Okay. With the 1 second delay, the dot between initial hit and now ticks 4 times instead of 3. Oh, that's cool. Dragon Leap. Increase the radius of this ability and its morphs to 8 meters from 6.5. It also now applies a more aggressive snare to targets, and it is cast on to prevent them from being able to outrun the AoE damage when it lands. Hardened Armor. The damage shield granted from this ability will no longer extend in duration as the ability ranks up, but will rather increase by 1.1% in size per rank. So it's going to get stronger. Adjusted the tooltip to state the value of the shield rather than the percentage health it is based off for improved clarity. Ooh, that's actually kind of good. Inhale. Increase the damage of the initial hit of this ability and its morphs by 25%. Increase the damage of the delayed explosion by approximately 7%. This was done to adhere the ability to our AoE standards. It heals for 100% of the damage caused, which it takes into that standard. Okay. Remove the target cap, the 6 target caps for the heal, interrupted, and resource restore for the ability. Note, this puts this ability into the rule breaker category. Reflective Scale. Rename this ability to Protective Scale. Converted the reflect function into a 50% damage reduction from projectiles. This happened to all 3 versions of the ability. So instead of it reflecting completely, it's a 50% damage reduction. Okay, that's actually quite interesting. I don't know what to say about it. I mean, honestly, I don't know what to think. It sounds interesting. I'll have to see it in action to give my full opinion. But it sounds really interesting. So, Dragon Fire Scale. This ability no longer increases damage of reflected attacks since it no longer reflects. Incoming projectiles will now cause you to launch a fiery orb at the attack that deals flame damage. This effect can occur once every half second. So that's interesting. That is interesting. Reflective Plate. Rename this to Protective Plate. No other changes were made to the ability's functionality. Interesting. I'm not even going to read the developer comments because I just want to read the rest of this stuff. There's so much of it. Ash Cloud. Increase the healing of this ability by approximately 15%. Holy moly. Adjusted this. So Eruption is the morph. One of the morphs. Adjusted the ability to follow our standardized damage over time rule set. Added a 1 second delay between the initial hit and the first damage over time tick. And increased the damage per tick by approximately 9%. To make up for the loss of the first tick. Also increased damage of initial hit by approximately 35%. That's a lot of damage. That's actually going to be really good in a way. I mean, how good, I don't know. I'll have to test it, but it sounds really good. Cinderstorm. Increased the... like it needed it. God damn. Excuse me. Didn't mean to say that, but... dang. Earth and Heart. Adjusted the duration of these skills so that their final ranks land on rather than fractions when you have rank 2 of Eternal Mountain. This has resulted in the following duration changes. Magma Armor and its morphs increased to 12 seconds from 10.8. Molten Weapons and its morphs changed to 42 seconds. Wow. And Molten Armaments to 36. Obsidian Shield and its morphs are 8 seconds now. Petrify and its morphs. Ash Cloud is morph, no change. Stone Fist and its morph decreased to 3 seconds from 3.6. Whoa. Like, that's some big changes. From 10 to 12 on Magma, and then to 42. Wow. That's cool. I'm happy with that. Obsidian Shield. They fixed an issue where this ability and Igneous Shield morph were increasing by 1 per level rather than 1.1%. So that's good. That'll be a nice change. Nightblades. Okay, everyone, keep your panties loose for this. And that was being derogatory. Just You're going to understand here in a second. Deathstroke. This ability and the incapacitating strikes morphs will no longer apply major defile to the target. Incapacitating strikes, this morph will now apply minor mangle to the target for the duration. The stun, if cast within 120 of the ultimate. Soul Harvest retains all its current functions. So no longer does these abilities apply major defile. They do minor mangle. The incapacitating strikes does. So I want to test that. Really, I do. Soul Harvest is fine. I mean, they didn't need to change anything. This is where everyone's going to go, what the bleep? Grim Focus. Remove the minor berserk buff from this ability and its morphs. So no longer do they get the minor berserk at all when you cast this. The Spectral Bow now heals for 33% of the damage dealt if you are within 7 meters of the target when firing it. They fixed an issue where this ability and its morphs would continue to persist after logging off. Merciless Resolve now increases healing done by 50%. I'm not even gonna ask. Relentless Focus increased the duration to 30 seconds from 20 seconds. Additionally, the morph no longer grants minor endurance. So you'll be able to fire off more shots with this, but again, you lose that minor endurance, which was really nice. Alright, we'll look at the developers' comments on this one. Nightblade traditionally, while masters of high single target damage and a wide toolkit, were given too many potent tools on their skills that continue using even without additional added bonuses. We remove the minor berserk bonus from this ability since its overall performance is roughly where it should be comparatively with other abilities, and we've introduced a healing bonus to it to help Nightblade class gain access to more high-risk staying power. Now the caster will want to ensure the target hasn't prepared themselves with defense. Okay, so interesting thing there. So, Teleport Strike. This ability and smarts will no longer stun NPC enemies. Instead, targets affected by this initial damage will be affected by minor vulnerability for 8 seconds. Note that minor vulnerability will apply to both players and NPCs. If you guys don't know what minor vulnerability is, it's 8% damage reduction to the enemy. Boom. For 8 seconds. And this is Teleport Strike. And it's morphs. So, Teleport Strike, whether it's Magicka or Stamina, will apply minor vulnerability. Like, wow. That's nice. I like that. I use that ability. So, and not only in PvP, but in PvE. Shadow, Aspect of Terror. This ability and its morphs no longer snare the target. After the fear ends, Aspect of Terror now fears up to 3 enemies, up from 2. That's awesome. I love it. Mass Hysteria. This morph no longer applies minor maim to the targets affected. Also increase the number of feared targets to 6, up from 2. This is what I'm going to be using for my tank now, is Mass Hysteria. That is so cool. Dark Cloak. Adjusted how this ability operates. It will now heal the caster for 4.5% of their max health every 1 second, and the duration can increase to a maximum of 8 seconds with other passives. The toolkit will now state the value you will heal for rather than how it scales to prevent confusion. Fixed an issue where the ability had cost reduction, blah blah blah. Yeah. So I like the Dark Cloak change. Good. Aspect Terror, I like to. Teleport Strike, like the change. Grim Focus, not so much. Like, we lost a major thing there. I mean, that's gonna be crazy. But I still like most of the changes so far. Dark Veil. Adjusted the passive to grant a 1 and 2 second flat duration increase to shadow abilities rather than the 8 to 15% duration extensions. So this ability now scales with the caster's max Magicka and so Summon Shade. Sorry. So this will remain relatively the same with the durations on the Dark Veil stuff. So I'm really happy with that. Dark Shade or Summon Shade. This ability now scales with the max magic or stamina, weapon or spell damage. That's really cool. The shades will now attack every 2 seconds than rather 1.5. Rename the attacks the shades deal with each morph to help improve clarity. And then they fixed an issue with their abilities to increase the damage as they ranked up. Dark Shade. This ability deals 50% more damage as part of the morph functionality. The AoE attack, if cast, can happen 5% more frequently than before and deals 20% more damage than the default attack. So Dark Shade, really big pop there. It's nice. Surprise Attack. This ability no longer applies Major Fracture. Instead, if you use this ability on the flank of your enemy, behind or to the sides, they reduce their physical resistance by 5%. This effect cannot stack, but will always prioritize the highest value. So no longer does the Nightblade get Major Fracture, except from one ability, and that does both Major Fracture and Major Breach. They do not get Major Fracture from this anymore. Sorry to say it, I'm happy with this change. This is something that needed to happen. It made the Nightblade too DPS, like single target DPS heavy, like the best. And I'm glad this happened. Not trying to be negative or anything, guys. I'm glad this happened, and I love this new change where it drops their resistance by 5%. That's a little better. I mean, it's not quite as good as Major Fracture, but it's still pretty good. Veil of Blades fixed an issue where this ability was not getting stronger as the ability ranked up. Total damage of the rank 4 will now be increased by 6.6%. That is awesome. Siphoning abilities. Cripple. Adjusted this ability and Debilitate morph to follow our standard damage over time rule set. Increase the total duration to 10 seconds from 8. Approximately increase the damage by 4%, and this will roughly result in the same DPS but over a longer duration. Reduce the snare potency to 30% from 40, and crippling grasp, one I like to use. Added a 2-second delay between the first damage over time tick and the initial hit. Also increase the damage of the initial hit by approximately 25%. Increase the damage of each dot tick by approximately 25% to make up for the damage loss of the first tick. So, Deliberate, increase the snare potency to 50%. Drain Power, increase the damage of this ability and the Sap Essence morph by 25% to adhere to our PB AoE damage standards. Ability and Sap Essence now grant Major Sorcery rather than Brutality to better represent the scaling mechanism of the skill's use. Power Extraction, this damage, increase the damage of this ability by 20%, and the ability continues to grant Major Brutality. That is really cool. I like that change. Siphoning Strikes fixed an issue where this ability and source had cooldown on the heal, since light and heavy attacks have their own cooldown. So basically they fixed that lot, which is good. Soul Shred, increased the radius of this ability and tether to 8 meters from 6 meters. Soul Tether, adjusted this morph to adhere to the dot standards, so added a 1-second delay between the initial hit and the first dot tick. Increased the damage by approximately 4% per tick. This will result in the same DPS or heals per second, but with less burst. Fixed an issue where these abilities did not get stronger as they ranked up. The initial hit and dot will now will both gain a 1.1% damage per rank. Sorcerer. Lots of changes, guys. Sorry. I need to grab a drink here. My throat's drying out. Alright, so moving on. Crystal Shard. Reduce the cost of this ability and its morphs by approximately 15% to put it in line with our other cast time abilities. Right. Dark Exchange. Fixed an issue where this ability and Dark Conversion morphs would fail to return resources or heal if they were cast while silenced. Encase. Reduce the duration of Immobilize from this ability and its morphs to 4 seconds from 4.5. Shattering Prison. Increase the damage of the explosion by approximately 82%, put it on par with other AoE instant hit abilities such as Cleave or Impulse. Wow. Negate Magic. Fixed an issue where this ability would fail to continue pressing area effect abilities inside the area. Updated the tooltip to become to better describe the function of the ultimate. Daedric Summoning. Daedric Curse. Fixed an issue where the AoE detonation of this ability and its morphs could be blocked. Note it refers only to AoE portion of this ability, as the original target couldn't block the damage. Daedric Prey. Reworked ability rank up of this ability Instead of getting a 1.1% damage on the explosion per rank, this ability became cheaper as they rank up. The final cost is 2160 at base and down from 2430, but will deal 3.3% less damage overall. Added a pet taunt functionality to this ability that is similar to the one built into heavy attacks. Your active pets will now prioritize targets with Daedric prey on them. Okay. So the pet will taunt them? Is that what I'm getting? We'll figure it out. Reduce the damage of pets from this ability to 40% from 55. Okay. Fixed an issue where the summon unstable familiar damage pulse was not being affected by this ability. Note the morph that the morph version was already working properly. Okay. Hardened Ward. Fixed an issue where this ability was getting 40% bonus to strength rather than 20% bonus. Please note that the previous bonus could not be circumvented, the health cap of 50%. So if you were already over the bonus, you will see no change to power. Alright, Storm Calling, Bolt Escape. Fixed and ensure this ability in the source could stun targets behind walls. Streak, this ability will now scale with your highest offensive stat and increase the stun duration to 3 seconds from 1.8. Interesting. Lightning Form, Boundless Storm. This morph now grants 4 seconds of major expedition immediately, rather than starting at 2.5 seconds and raking up to at the ability progress. The ability's damage will now get a 1.1% stronger per rank, ending a 3.3% increase in rank 4. Wow. Lightning Splash. Increase the duration of this ability in its source to 8 seconds from 6 seconds. Finally, Liquid Lightning. This morph now lasts 12 seconds to retain the extra 4 seconds of duration increase. Lightning Flood. Increase the damage of this morph by 5%. Wow. Alright. Mage's Wrath. Increase the damage of the area of effect damage from this ability by 20% on par with the other executes. Fixed an issue with the detonation dodge, blah blah blah. Yeah. Endless Fury. This ability now returns Magicka if the target died within 5 seconds of taking damage rather than the ability gained on killing blow. Also, increase the amount of magic returned by approximately 10%. Overload. This ability in its source will now properly scale with Staff Expert in the champion point system. Also updated the tooltip for this ability in its morphs to better describe functionality. Power Overload. Increase the damage dealt of light and heavy attacks override by 10% to improve the morph distinction. Templar changes. Hope you guys are ready. Burning Light. Fixed an issue where the damage of this passive was able to be dodged despite the fact that the damage was tethered to an attack that already could be blocked or dodged. Yeah. Focus Charge. Reduce the damage dealt by this ability and Toppling Charge morph by approximately 8% to put it on par with other gap closer abilities. Explosive Charge. Increase the damage dealt from this morph by approximately 15% to put it on par with this PB AoE standard ability standard, since the morph converts the attack into an AoE. Toppling Charge. Fix an issue where this ability and the explosive charge could not be CC broken until the stagger completed. If you are interrupted by the target, this ability and its morphs will now always apply off balance to the target rather than requiring them to be interrupted, since the targets were automatically set off balance to interrupt anyway. Alright. Excuse me. Piercing Javelin. Increase the duration of the stun granted from this ability and its morph to land on a beautiful whole number. This means that the ability and or a Javelin will now stun for 2 seconds rather than 1.8, while Binding will last 4 seconds rather than 3.5. Aurora Javelin, they fixed an issue where you couldn't hit the damage bonus cap while utilizing range increased passives. Now it will get 2% stronger every 1 meter between you and the target, up to 40% at 20 meters. They reduced the channel time for puncturing strikes and its ability to 1 second from 1.1. Praise the sun for whole numbers. So puncturing strikes will duration is 1 second now for the total duration of the cast it. Radial sweeps, they increase the radius of this ability and morphs to 8 meters from 6. Empowering sweep, redesign this morph to offer damage rather than survivability. The damage pulse after the initial hit lasts 6 seconds at base, but is increased by 2 seconds for each enemy hit, up to a maximum of 6. It also now grants Empower for the duration rather than Major Protection. So, Empowering Sweep just got nerfed for tank kind of capabilities, but that's fine. Still pretty good. Spear Shards. They increase the initial hit damage of this ability and its morphs by approximately 36%. What? They increase the dot of this ability and Luminous Shards morph by 5%. Adjusted how these abilities power up as their increase in rank. So Spear Shards now increases damage dealt by the entire ability as it ranks up, and Luminous Shards now no longer increases damage as it ranks up, but instead gains reduced cost reduction. Minus 90 magicka per rank. So it's like 100 or 260 at max. Blazing Spear increases damage dealt to by entire ability as it ranks up. Wow. I'm almost gonna cry when I read this next one, guys, because you guys know I'm a big Blazing Shield nut. Updated the tooltip for Sun Shield for this ability and its morphs to state the actual value rather than the ambiguous value that require you to do super hard math. So they changed it from a percentage value to a flat number value. They increased the initial hit damage of the ability and Radiant Ward morph by 150% to put it on par with PBAOE standards. Blazing Shield damage remains untouched since it's already above standard, since it has an additional requirement in order to gain the damage. Radiant Ward. This ability no longer gains additional cost reduction as it ranks up. Instead, the bonus shield size of the enemy's hit up to 9% per enemy hit at rank 4. Radiant Ward just became the Uber Shield for Templar tanks. Alright, Dawn's Wrath, Eclipse. This ability and its morphs will no longer proc off direct damage attacks such as Spiked Armor or Fuse of the Harbinger damage return. Updated the tooltip on these abilities to properly indicate the internal cooldown, which have always been there. Reduced the damage dealt by the Thorn mechanic, damage return, of this ability and its morphs by 25%. Note, this only pertains to the damage, the heal of Total Dark, and explosions of unstable core remain untouched. Power of the Light. Adjusted the rank up for this morph so it no longer gains damage on initial hit, but instead increases the duration of Minor Fracture and Breach applied. Since this is the focus of the morph, this will result in approximately a 3% damage loss on the initial hit, but the duration of Minor Fracture and Minor Breach will last 9 seconds, up from 6 at their final rank. Wow, Power of the Light just got... It got a buff and a nerf, but I do like that change. The 9 seconds, that'll be nice. Solar Flare. They reduced the cast time from this ability and Dark Flare morph to 1 second from 1.1. Increased the travel speed to match other projectiles. Reduced the damage by approximately 37% to make up for the fact that it can't be cast more, that it can be cast more frequently. Reduced base cost from $29.70 to $32.40. And then Solar Barrage, they removed the delay from this ability, which will result in gaining 1 extra tick of damage. Also fixed the issue where this ability was being considered a direct damage attack instead of damage over time. Sunspire. Adjusted this ability and its morphs to follow our standardized damage over time rule set. Total duration has been increased to 8 seconds from 6.5, and increased the damage per tick by approximately 31% to make up for the loss of the first tick. This will result in roughly the same DPS. Sorry guys. Vampire's Bane. This ability now lasts 12 seconds instead of 10.5. And Reflective Light. This spread of how far this ability will attempt to find targets near your initial target is now 5 instead of 4.5. Restoring Light. So, I hope all you Templar healers are ready for this change. Breath of Life. Fixed an issue where the secondary heal granted from this ability was able to ignore the caster's line of sight and target players behind them. Now you have to be in line of sight. Cleansing Ritual. This ability and source now grant healing and damage based on the user's highest offensive stats rather than just max magicka and spell damage. Ritual of Retribution fixed an issue where the damage from this morph could not critically strike. It's pretty nice. Practice Incantation fixed an issue where this ability was increasing the heal by 1 per tick rather than 1.1%. That's awesome. Warden, Animal Companion, Falcon Swiftness. Reduce the cost of this ability and its worth to 2,700 from 3511 at base. The ability no longer grants Major Endurance. Major Expedition lasts 6 seconds, up from 4. Now, note that this ability is now considered a rule breaker since it breaks a paradigm of Major Expedition lasting 4 seconds. Scorch. This ability and its morphs can now be blocked. Yeah, shut up. Green Balance. Corrupting Pollen. This no longer applies Major Defile to enemies for 4 seconds inside, which allowed them to bypass the 6-player target cap. Instead, up to 6 enemies inside will be properly affected with Major Defile, which will cease once the ability ends or they leave the radius. So, good change. Harvest. Fix an issue where this synergy would not actively update to targets in the area. It will now operate like other synergies, prioritizing the closest players to the center of the area of effect placed. Also increase the radius of the synergy to 5 meters from 3 to allow more accessibility. Lotus Flower. Increase the radius of the heal to 28 meters from 12. Thank you to add or aid in better disputing of healing potential to group members. Yes! Nature's Grass. This ability and its morphs now scale with your highest offensive stat rather than just your max magicka and spell damage. That's nice. Winter's Embrace. Arctic Wind. Increase the heal over time from this ability to 3% of your max health, up from 2. This ability now properly ranks up in healing with each rank, and their tooltip states the actual heal value. Arctic Blast. Increase the travel speed of the projectile so it's similar to Destructive Touch's speed. Also updated the tooltip to state requires an enemy to cast. That was already on there. The requires an enemy to cast. The speed of this ability sucked. And it still sucks. I don't care what they do to it. The only way they can fix this ability is to put the dot AoE damage back. Or the damage over time ability. It's the only way. A stun? Get real. It's the dumbest change to this ability I've ever seen. And I'm being honest here. Polar Winds. Increase the radius to 12 meters, up from 8. This is going to make this a really good ability for tanks. So really nice change there. Crystallized Shield. Remove the cost reduction rank up from this ability and its morphs. This will now all cost 3780 at base. The size of the shield from this ability increase. So the shield from this ability will increase as the ability ranks up. So it'll get more powerful. Adjusted the magic return to be 22% of the ability's cost instead of previously base values. So that's really nice. Crystallized Slab. Increase the damage return of this morph by approximately 55% to put it in par with other such abilities as Dragonfire, Scale, or Inferno. It's nice. Frozen Gate. This ability no longer becomes cheaper as it ranks up. The base cost remains 2,970 at all ranks rather than decreasing to 2,701 on the morphs. The duration has been streamlined to 30 seconds on all morphs. This ability now ranks up in damage but has had its base damage reduced to our PB AoE standard attack. Rank 4 of each morph will reach the same damage as before. Okay. Impaling Shards. Fixed an issue where this ability and its morphs were being removed before dealing their first tick of damage. Fixed an issue where this ability, these abilities were being calculated as direct damage rather than damage over time. Okay. I mean, it needed the damage over time, but I don't know why it was being counted as direct damage. Updated the tooltip of these abilities to mention their increased chance to apply the chilled status effect. Impaling Shards and Gripping Shards increase the damage dealt by these abilities by 30% to put them on par with other AoE dots such as Winter's Revenge. Winter's Revenge morph fixed an issue where this morph could snare enemies through walls. Impaling Shards just became a really, really nice Warden Ice ability. Sleet Storm. Reduce the potency of the stare from this ability and its morphs to 40% from 70%. Oh. I don't know how I like that. 60% I would have been fine with. 40% seems a little too much. But we'll see. I got to do some testing. Alright, so some weapon skill changes. Two-handed, cleave, rework this ability in its morphs so the damage is increased by 50%, but remove the bleed from this ability completely. So this ability in its morphs, damage is increased by 50%, but remove the bleed. So now when you use cleave, just the base cleave, it will just do 50% more damage to all targets. So it does a crap ton of damage to multiple targets hit. I like this. I think it makes it a really good spammable because it didn't have a good spammable. Next up, this morph retains the bleed and increased the bleed damage by 20%, 25%. However, it no longer grants minor heroism. So Carve was one of my favorite abilities to use on my Sork because I loved minor heroism. It helped me get Dawnbreakers like really fast. Now I don't get that, but I'll still use Dawnbreaker. I like this change to the additional damage to the bleeds. That should be 25%, should put it on par with like Twin Slashes, but we'll see. Brawler. Remove the bleed from this ability. Increase the shield granted from this ability by 100% at base, but reduce the bonus scaling per target hit to 50% from 100%. This means at base, this ability will be 100% stronger than before, and will be approximately 14% stronger than previously if you get the maximum bonus. So this is going to be awesome. I'm so excited for that. I can't wait to get into it. Uppercut. Reduce the damage dealt from this ability and source by 14% to make up for the removal of the post-global note above. Note that this will result in a 6% overall DPS increase where used in quick succession. So that's kind of nice. I like that. This has me a little upset. I was really hoping for more changes to one-handed sword and shield, to be honest. So all they did was fix an issue where the one-handed sword and shield hint was appearing in your death recap when you weren't attempting to use sword and shield weapons. What I really wanted to see was them to change Ransack into a bleed. So we'd have a stamina DPS plus a, like, the you know, not reverberating bash, but the other one as being a spammable. So we'd have that as a spammable with Ransack as a bleed, and we'd still have Heroic Slash and the other one, Deep Slash, or make Deep Slash have a bleed and give Ransack like just major fracture, or without the resistance buff. Like, give it something unique. Like, that's what it needed. Dual Wield, Blade Cloak. Fixed an issue where this with this ability in its morphs where you could fail to get the damage or any other bonuses provided. You will now always get the pulsing damage and any other bonuses, even if the major evasion fails to apply due to having a longer duration bonus existing. So that's one fix. Second fix, fixed an issue where these abilities were being treated as both dot and as direct damage. They will now properly be treated as damage over time and scale with Thaumaturge rather than Master at Arms. This means it will also no longer proc things that state when dealing melee damage. Thank you. Deadly Cloak. Increase the damage of this morph by approximately 4% so that it properly gains 50% damage compared to other morph. Nice. Flurry. Increase the damage dealt by this ability and its morphs by approximately 21% to ensure that it is in line with other single target spammable abilities. Hidden Blade. Remove the snare from this ability and its morphs. Flying Blade. Increase the damage dealt from the morph by 10%. Twin Slashes. Yeah. So first, they adjusted the ability and its morphs to follow our standard damage over time rule set. They increased the duration to 10 seconds, increased the delay to 2 seconds from 1 second, increased the damage per tick by approximately 15% to make up for the loss of the first tick. This will result in roughly the same overall DPS but with less burst damage. Blood Craze. Increased the heal per tick by approximately 27% and fixed an issue where this ability was being calculated with bonuses as an offensive attack rather than a heal. So, really nice. I'm glad they did that. Whirlwind. Increased the base damage of this ability and its morphs by approximately 50%, but removed the execute bonus. Yeah, it's no longer an execute, guys. Reduced the cost to 3510 from 3780. Increase the radius of this ability to 6 meters from 5. Still Tornado. Remove the execute bonus, but reduce the base cost to 3240 from 3510. So this Steel Tornado is still going to be pretty nice. And then Whirling Blades, they remove the cost and major endurance on hit and reduce the execute bonus of this more. What they should have done was remove the cost thing, but left the major endurance. So you would still get that stamina recovery. I think that's what made it unique, and I really wish they would have left that. Alright, Bow. Arrow Spray. Remove the snare from this ability and its morphs, but increase the damage approximately 27% to reduce the cost by approximately 13%. Okay? Acid Spray. Increase the damage over time by approximately 40%, but added a 1 second delay between the initial hit and the first tick. This ability now lasts 4 seconds in total. Bombard. This morph retains the snare and immobilize, but ensures that both apply to the enemy rather than only snaring enemies who were initially affected by immobilize. During the duration of the immobilize now lasts up to 4 seconds, up from 2. Yes! That's what needed to happen to that ability. Awesome. Cannot wait to have that on my tank. Alright, Snipe. Yeah, I'm not using Endless Hail anymore. I'm using Bombard. That's my new tank stun. Snipe. Reduce the cost of this ability and its force to 1 second from 1.1. Reduce the damage dealt by 25%. And, yeah. Increase the travel speed of the arrows. Lethal Arrow. This morph now applies minor defile rather than major defile. This was done since the morph already had another bonus that guaranteed chance to apply poison status effect. So that's a good change. I'm glad they did that. Lethal Arrow was just too powerful. Focused Aim. This morph no longer increases the range in which the allies can be hit the target. Instead, it reduces the cost by 5% and increases the range by 5 meters. Note that minor fracture remains. Awesome. Destruction Stuff. Wall of Frost. Reduce the snare potency of this ability to 40% from 60%. That's direct nerf on tanks. And it is. It's a direct nerf on tanks. Panacea. This ability no longer grants major protection. In adjustment to this morph, the duration of major force granted will now increase by 1 second for each rank of the morph, going to 8 seconds at max rank. So that's really nice. I like that the change to Panacea. I really am going to miss the major protection, though. Unarmed. Heavy Attack. Fixed an issue where heavy attacks, while unarmed, would not cause your pet to change targets. So armed means you have no weapons equipped. World. Soul Magic. Shatter Soul. Fixed an issue where the visual effects from this morph's explosion were multiplying in initial, intensely based on how many enemies you hit with it. Okay, changed. Werewolf. Devour. Corpses in the area of this ability active will now detonate a red glow similar to other corpse-consuming telegraphs. You can now devour your friends to extend your werewolf transformation timer since that you are a selfish doggo. Faced an issue where Devour was not showing the interruptible telegraph to enemy players. Infectious Claws. Increase the damage of the initial hit of this ability and source by approximately 36% to put it in line with other PBAOA standards. Werewolf Bleed adjusted this ability and source to allow for a standardized damage over time rule set. The duration decreased to 4 seconds from 8 seconds, added a 1 second delay between the initial hit and the first tick, decreased the damage per tick by approximately 15% and base for the base and pack leader morph, increased the damage per tick for the Berserker morph. This ability can no longer refresh once they are applied to a target. Wow. That is a pretty big, like, smack on the werewolf bleed. Ouch. Alright, Fighters Guild. Dawnbreaker. Increase the delay on the damage over time effect to 2 seconds from 1 second. Total duration is now 6 seconds rather than 5. Dawnbreaker Smiting. The stun from this ability no longer ranks up 1.5 seconds to 2.5 seconds, just a flat 2 seconds no matter the rank. And the morph now progressively gets stronger in damage as it ranks up. Instead, this will result in a 5.7% initial hit damage and a 9% damage over time portion increase. That's really good on the Smiting. I think that's a really good change. I wish it gave you the weapon increase like the other one, but... Silver Leash, they improved the responsiveness of the pull from the ability to reduce situations where players were still CC'd and pulled. Yeah. Trap Beast, fixed an issue with initial hit of this ability and its morphs could be dodged. Turn Undead, fixed an issue where this ability would only fear werewolves. So now it'll feel undead. Fear Undead. This is going to be awesome. I'm going to love this. Oh. There's so many dungeons with undead that this makes so good. You can make so much good use out of. Alright, Sigic Order. Accelerate. Increase the duration of Major Expedition on this buff to 4 seconds from 3. Noted, channeled acceleration will now last 12 seconds rather than 9. That's pretty cool. Race Against Time Morph. This morph no longer reduces the cost of sprinting by 50% for 4 seconds. Instead, it now grants immunity to snares and immobilizations for 4 seconds. That's actually going to be nice for PvP. Another way to have an ability to debuff yourself, or to remove debuffs. Elemental Weapon. Fixed an issue where this wasn't equal chance to apply status effects, so that's good. Min Wounds. Revamped this ability and its worse. The light and heavy attacks no longer trigger the global cooldown and can be weaved with other abilities. No longer costs resources to light and heavy attack with this ability toggled. Light attack now heals instantly for the same amount that a light attack would damage an enemy. Heavy attack still channels and heals every second, but has been reduced to the same scaling of other weapons' heavy attacks. It now restores Magicka every time it successfully heals an ally. Min Spirit. This morph now applies Major Ward and Resolve to the target healed for 5 seconds, regardless of whether it was a light or heavy attack. That is awesome. Oh man, that is super cool. I love that change to Min Spirit. That is, oh, wow. That is super cool. Alright, Alliance War, Caltrops, Razor Caltrops. This morph no longer snares enemies hit upon the initial hit. Instead, the initial hit deals as much damage as an instant cast AoE spammable, approximately 350% damage increase for the initial hit. Razor Caltrops just got a buff in damage, but losing that snare is going to really... Oh, I don't know. Adjusted the ability to follow our standardized damage over time, added a 1 second duration, okay, and 8% damage to make up for the loss of the first tick. Okay, Anti-Cavalry Trump. Increase the duration to 15 seconds from 14 seconds. Ouch. Support. Guard. Fixed numerous issues with this ability and its morphs. The transferred damage can no longer be mitigated a second time by the transferred target's mitigation or damage reduction. The damage is only mitigated once from the initial target's mitigation and damage reduction. The damage transferred is now correctly attributed to the attacker and no longer attributed to the initial target. It will no longer scale... yeah. Wow. The transfer damage will now retain the same damage type of the initial attack instead of always being physical damage. Note that Oblivion damage still cannot be transferred. Okay. Champion System, the Shadow, Befouled. Reduced maximum value of this star to 35 from 55. Alright. Finally. Good. That needed a fix. Alright, moving on. Consumables. Decrease health enchant. Reduce the damage of this enchant by 33%. The Oblivion damage was reduced by 33%. Ouch. Dubious Cameron Throne. Witchmother's Brew. Reduce the max health and max resource granted by this drink by approximately 12%. The recoveries remain unchanged. That's a hit. That's a big hit. Artaeum takeaway broth and clockwork stitches. Well, it's not really a big. You're gonna see it. I'll have to test it. Reduce the health and maximum resource granted by these foods by approximately 15%. Again, they fixed an issue where enchantments that dealt damage could be dodged when proceeded with a damage source that couldn't be dodged. All right. Item sets. So I'm going to do this item set. I'm going to go ahead and scroll down here just to show you guys. I'm going to do the item sets, and I'm not going to worry about the rest of this stuff. If you guys want to look through this stuff, please feel free. We're just going to do this item set stuff and call it, because this video is already over an hour long. Alright, they updated the wording on numerous item sets to clarify their proc conditions, such as only triggering from healing, allies, or requiring a target. Advancing Yodokai fixed an issue where this set could not proc off abilities such as Rapid Strikes, added a 0.5 second internal cooldown from generating a stack, but increased the duration to 6 seconds from 5 seconds. Alright. Caloran's Legacy fixed an issue where certain elemental procs had a lower chance of being fired compared to others. Now there will be equal chances for each element to proc. Choke Torrent fixed an issue where the item set would proc from healing or meditate or its morphs. Deadwater's Guile fixed an issue where this set would put an enormous debuff on targets you hit with the set active. Daedric Trickery fixed an issue where each buff did not have equal chance of proccing. This set now instantly dispels all negative effects rather than one. The heal granted from the set now only heals the target with the lowest health in the area rather than the 6 lowest targets in the area. That's what I'm talking about. That is it. I don't care what a lot of people say. This set, that monster set was OP as hell, and it needed a nerf. And this just brought it in line with other sets, and I think that's what it needed. Essence Thief fixed an issue where the pool would be materialized to begin sprinting or roll dodging while it was procking. Okay, yeah. Grace of Gloom fixed tooltip error where the set could be only proc off single target damage rather than any damage. Griffin's Rush fixed an issue where the set wasn't firing off on some specific direct damage attacks. Awesome, thank you. I've been waiting for that. Leeching Clicks fixed an issue where the damage could be blocked despite it being an area of effect damage over time. Mechanical Acuity fixed an issue. Yeah, this is going to be nice for those Mechanical Acuity users. This is really going to be nice for you. Nicholas Heavy Armor fixed an issue where this set would not proc from Shield Wall and its morphs. Powerful Assault fixed an issue where the set would trigger multiple times for a single cast of Caltrops or its morphs. So they fixed the bug that it had. Good. Robes of the Hiss fixed, reduced the healing of this set by 20%. Fixed the issue where this item set was able to critically strike. Wow. Shieldbreaker redesigned this item set so it no longer deals damage when you light attack a target with a shield active. Now it increases the damage dealt by 6% at all times. The effect is doubled when attacking targets with a damage shield active. Okay, now that makes more sense. Spell Strategist fixed an issue with this item set. Had reverted the cooldown to 5 seconds rather than 4. Swarm Mothers, this is really nice. They adjusted the pull from this set to 8 and 22 rather than 5 and 25. Note the minimum range is meant to help prevent situations where you could pull targets who were already in melee range. And they fixed an issue where the set would go on cooldown after attempting to pull a crowd control immunity target. So this is really good. This is going to just make that set fire even better. I really am happy for this change. I think this is a much needed change for that set. Twilight Remedy fixed an issue where activating your own synergy from such things as Haven of Ursus could proc this set. Vulcan Scoria, this set, the proc from this item set will now display a ring around the target, showing that there's something going to happen to him. So really, really interesting. A lot of these changes, like I'm surprised. I wasn't like, I really felt unhappy about some of these things, like Sword and Shield, like not getting any changes to make it more like have both a DPS functionality and a tank functionality, even though it still does. I wanted more. I was really hoping for more. The class changes were nothing like I expected. Nothing. I was expecting some serious, like, hey, we're reworking these to give them more, you know, functionality, to give them more, like, less functionality, but more blah, blah, blah. And they didn't. They just basically put them in line. And I really, really am glad they did that. I think that that's what has been needed for a while now, is to put the classes, the skills in perspective, if you will. The new gear sets, I'm super excited for all of them, regardless. I just think it's really good. A lot of these new changes to some of these sets I'm really excited for. Leeching Plate sounds really good. Affliction sounds really good now. Robes of the Withered Hand, to me, sound really awesome. And then moving on up here, I just want to clarify on a few things. So, the new sets. I like the new crafted sets. I really do. I think that some of these are really interesting. I think, like, a lot of them, like, have their own unique flavor to them, and I really like that. But what I really like is I like the new drop sets. I think these are all going to be really interesting to see. Well, not so much the medium, because I'm not a big fan of, like, recovery sets, but I do see its point, like its placement, and I do see its uses, and I think it's a really good set. Like, it's a needed set. Every set that they've added since, I would have to say, from Morrowind, like every set they've added with every chapter and every open world DLC has definitely been much needed sets, and also sets that add some uniqueness to the gameplay of the game. So I really think that they're really starting to look at the game and going, okay, what can we do to improve existing sets, or to make people lean on existing sets while still seeing other sets as respectively useful, and then our in-game players having their stuff, you know, their meta stuff. So I see a lot of really good use in a lot of this stuff. I'm really excited to get in and start testing the Necromancer, which is the first thing I'm going to do when I get on PTS, is test them. I said I was going to test my main character. I am, but I also, just because I want to see what changes have affected her, but I also want to test the Necromancer because I'm super excited for that. I'm making a Dark Elf one, and I'm making a Khajiit one. Both of those I'm super, super stoked for. The Dark Elf is going to be a tank. The Khajiit's gonna, I don't know what they're gonna be yet. I'm kind of leaning maybe towards healer. I don't know, like a support character. We'll have to see. When it comes to builds, guys, please remember, I wait until they get the initial, like, revamp changes they want in, which is usually the 3rd week. So, like, the 1st week, 2nd week, I'm not going to be releasing any builds. I might talk a lot about, like, the Necromancer, the different content during those first 2 weeks. And then in the 3rd week, I will start releasing some builds. And then when it goes live, I will be full bore into builds. But not like I've done in the past. I'm actually looking at my channel. I'm thinking about changing a few things and stuff. I know I said I wanted to do this thing where, like, I'd do basic builds, advanced builds, and expert builds. I just want to do builds. And I don't think there should be, like, a difference in how, like, oh, this is, like, you have to be an expert player. No, I want to release builds that I think people are going to have fun playing, not just because of their design, but because they're not something that you see, you know, a lot of. I mean, I see a lot of stuff when I watch YouTube stuff, like, there's a lot of players out there that have been doing the same thing as me, like saying, hey, this is the kind of builds I want to release. And then there's a lot of the people who focus on the meta, like Asian God, Outcast, Wooler, even though he's not around anymore doing videos. I really kind of wish he was, because I really enjoyed his content. You know, but, like, the people who focus meta, like, that's what they do. They focus the meta, and we need that. But we also need people out there that are not focusing on meta, that are focusing on just the enjoyment of the game, for those who enjoy that aspect of it, and really just want a build to play, something to enjoy and have fun with. And that's where I want to change my focus to. I don't want to be about in game. I don't really, no offense to anyone. too old now in my age to worry about in-game. Like, I really am. I'm not trying to sound rude or harmful on those people that play in-game. In-game is a young man's game. It will be for a long time for some people. I'm getting a lot older now, and I just don't have the time to invest anymore. I've got kids. Even the ones getting ready to graduate. I have kids, and I have other responsibilities in my life. So I just don't have time to focus on in-game anymore. It's not that I'm not going to release in-game builds. I will. It's just that I want to focus on stuff that I enjoy doing, and that's mainly kind of what I wanted to get at with this. I didn't want to make this video any longer. I'm going to stop there. I'm going to make another video tomorrow letting you guys know what I'm going to be doing with my channel. So just keep an eye out for that. And then I'll be doing Necromancer the next day, talking about the Necromancer, my thoughts on it, because I'll have some time to play with it. And give you guys my opinions on it. You'll see my build for it. You will see it, but I won't give it to you. I'll be testing some ideas with it. I already have one in particular I want to try with it and see how it goes. If it works out really well, that's what I'm going to stick with. So, but I'll let you guys know. Like, I want to get in and do some testing. So that's pretty much it, and you guys know what's coming next. So if you guys like this video, hit that like button. If you guys want to see more videos by me, you can subscribe. Other than that, I want to thank you all for watching. Until next time, have a wonderful day, and this guy might see you again. Bye.